But I do need to get to this because I would certainly be remiss if I didn't use this microphone to call out what's going on. I often think, the late 1920s, early 30s, the rise of Nazism, fascism, the rise of Imperial Japan. Wouldn't it have been wonderful if we had talk radio back then with so many patriots with access to microphones? Well, now, why should patriots with access to microphones turn into morning zoo shows or endlessly talk about themselves? I mean, it's just ridiculous in my view. Well, you know a little about this, but I'm going to have to tell you more. This is from the Telegraph of Britain. Thousands of Yazidi women sold, thousands, as sex slaves for theological reasons. By Richard Spencer. Islamic State jihadists have given detailed theological reasons justifying why they have taken thousands of women from the Iraqi Yazidi minority and sold them into sex slavery. Now let's just stop there a minute. Does that move you morally? Those out there, and it's a minority, but those out there among my magnificent audience who believe that's just none of our business, does this move you to want to do something when you see injustices like this? What does your faith tell you? You men out there, what does your instinct tell you? A new article in the Islamic State English language online magazine, Dabiq, not only admits the practice, but justifies it according to the theological rulings of early Islam. After capture, the Yazidi women and children were then divided according to the Sharia amongst the fighters of the Islamic State who participated, the article said. Did you hear what I said? Women and children were divided among the jihadis. These Islamo-Nazis are child molesters, among other things. That's quite clear to me. This is why I call them subhumans. This is why I call them cockroaches. This is why I call them Islamo-Nazis. People fiddling around trying to come up with new names, or people fiddling around using the names that I've created for them without attribution. But you know what we're talking about. They're not even rabid dogs. They're cockroaches. It says there's a difference between women from Muslim sects the jihadis regard as heretical and what can be considered apostates, and the so-called mushrikin, that is, polytheists and pagans. Their women could be enslaved, unlike female apostates. The women were seized when the group swept across parts of northern Iraq in early August. And when the jihadists attacked areas occupied by Yazidis, the West's attention focused on the tens of thousands of refugees crowded on the barren hills of nearby Mount Sinjar. But thousands more who weren't rescued were surrounded and captured in nearby towns and villages. The article does not specify that they are to be used as sex slaves, but later on equates them with concubines. The Islamic State newsletter released online at this weekend also contains an article by John Cantley, a British journalist being held hostage, which he says he fears he will soon be killed. The enslaved Yazidi families are now sold by the Islamic State soldiers, as the mushrin were sold by the companions before them, the article says. If we don't bring out the heavy bombers and blow these people back to the century that they so wish to be part of, I'm going to tell you history's going to look back on us and condemn us, each and every one of us. And quite frankly, it should.